Me? Yes.
Okay, so campus is closed next week, and the following week we will be back on January 3rd. So for that reason, I'm going to do weeks 2 and 3 so that y'all have that information and y'all can practice during the 2 weeks. And then when we come back, you'll get week 4 lecture as you normally would when we're back on campus. Okay? Okay. So I'll just mute the mic. I don't know that. Well, we'll just wait for other students to join us. Okay?
Okay, I had a question on gel removal.
What's your question?
For our practicals, is it okay if we just use like the strip lash to remove, or you want us to actually be removing like maybe a classic set that we did?
Yes, you can do that. So that way you can get the real feel for it. Is here for a remove. Okay. Oh, there she is, Anai. Are you there, Anai? Hello.
Hi.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Okay. I didn't know if I had let you in. Okay, she's in. So you'll have to go back and put more gel removal and then go in and work that off to make sure you're opening the eye. And you can explain all that in your practical when you submit that. Okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I'm gonna put the mic on pause because I've got to do a few little things before we get started. Anai, type your name in the comments so that we know you're here. Perfect. Thank you, dear. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Let me pull up week 2. So week 2 is eye shapes, consultation, and volume lashing. So let's go over eye shapes first. Let me get this going. Okay, can you see my screen? Yes. Alrighty, there it goes. Okay, so for eye shapes, we're just going to go over this very briefly. It's a quick presentation. Nonetheless, here we go. So it's helping your retention and your lashes are actually growing. So that is how she did it. Like she was made it a need. She didn't give them an option. You know what I mean? So that's a good way to build that rapport with your clients because they're going to trust you and they'll believe you and then they'll buy from you. Okay. And you can also sell them the spoolies. You can include lip masks and sell them the lip mask, or you can include the price of a lip mask, especially if you know you have a chatty Kathy, and you can say, you know what, I have a special package for you and only you because I love you so much. And what this package includes is a lip mask, and it's only going to cost XYZ. And then she's going to be like, oh, but why just me? Because, girl, you're my faithful client. You've been with me since I started, and you got some beautiful lips, and we just want to keep them lush and plush and soft. So, Chiflan, she's going to believe you, but you want to keep her quiet. So, while you're lashing her, she's going to have that lip mask on, and she's not going to be able to talk. See, those little tricks that you can do to keep them from opening their eyes or having a conversation. Because even while they're talking with their eyes are closed, their eyes are moving, and it's moving the lashes, it's moving the lids. Okay. So just being creative with that in your services. Okay. And so your consultation sets clear expectations. It does ensure guest satisfaction, gives you repeat customers, and it helps you to grow your business. Okay. So, and that's just the beginning of the service. You haven't even gone through the rest of it. Okay. Any questions on consultation? I know I talked a lot. No? Yes? No? Okay.
I have a
So,
question.
okay, go ahead.
Do you recommend making your own shampoos? I've seen some that are like out of concentrate, and then I've seen some lash techs like make their own. Do you recommend that, or is there a brand that you recommend to wholesale? That you buy wholesale from, sorry.
Lo que tú quieres hacer. That's all I can say. I mean, and then I'm just being silly. So some people will make their own, but just make sure that here's the thing. If you got to have insurance coverage, you need to talk to your insurance company and say, hey, what are you going to cover? Can I make my own product? Because if it's not something that's out on the market or hasn't been tested or regulated and it's not going to harm anybody, they may not cover it because they don't know. You know what I mean? But if you're just using it on, people once you get licensed, then that's on you. And so if anything happens to that client while you're using the shampoo, who's going to take the fall for that? You know what I mean?
What if it's already like the concentrate, they sell you the ingredients labels, and I think it's just the concentrate with water that you put together. Would you still be liable, or would the company be liable? Do you know?
Again, that's another one where you would ask your insurance company because you're going to have insurance, but also look at the claims, read the reviews, and see, like, research it and get your information. So that way you have your bases covered because, like, for example, Barbicide. Barbicide sells concentrates, but they are reliable. So any cosmetological business uses Barbicide as well as hospitals and things like that. So that's very well known, and there's really not a risk with that unless somebody just uses it improperly. You know what I mean? So you could. And as far as like going to Amazon and buying a shampoo, I'm kind of leery about that, and I'm not saying this to sound chocante because when I worked let me just say this. When I was a lash tech, the only place that I would buy products from was actual brands that were out there. So like Extreme Lash. I would order only from Extreme Lash or Lash Affair or Barbaletta or Bella Lash. You know what I mean? Like those are companies that are already established and they're very well known. They have great reviews. There's no issues with them. So that's where I would order my products from versus trying to order from Amazon. And not to bash Amazon and not to give them a bad name because I order from them almost every day. JK. But the thing is, these products are sitting in warehouses. So if I'm ordering, say, my lash glue from a warehouse and I don't know how long it's been sitting in the warehouse, what's the actual efficacy of it once I receive it? You know what I mean? So I don't know how long it's been in a warehouse. So those are things that you gotta weigh and weigh out the odds for. So I would just say really do your research.
Okay, thank you.
And maybe reach out in lash communities and see what they say. Because I honestly have not used a lash shampoo concentrate. I've always used it from a company.
Yeah, I haven't used it either. So I've been using the one that's from our school and I really like it. My daughter really likes it too. She's too young to get lashes, but she's always like, "Can I have a lash bath?" I'm like, "Okay, I'll give you one."
Yeah, I love lash baths too. Can you give me one too? I really do. I love the lash baths. They feel so good. I like the cold water. That's probably my favorite part. But yeah, just make sure you inform yourself. And like I said, if you're going to be a business on your own, talk to your insurance provider and see what they say. Or maybe like do research online to see what you can find. Okay. Somebody, oh, there it is. I wipe my nose. Okay, so now I've got the volume presentation, and then I'm going to jump into week 3, which is hybrid, and then we're done. So this is going to go maybe about another 45 minutes. Okay, so now volume lashing. Oh, and lash removal. Oh, I forgot lash removal's in here. Lashes, volume 101. So your overview, just talking about the history of volume lashes, the lash weight and the diameters. Handmade versus pre-made, that's the age-long battle since lashes have been out. Adhesives and then fanning techniques. So what are volume lashes? Oh, let me share. I knew I was forgetting something. Let me share. Here we go. All right. So now, what are volume lashes? They are 2 to 6 lashes of a thin diameter that are fanned from the palette and placed on an individual lash. History of volume lashes. So Russian volume lashes are named after the Russian master lash stylist who invented the technique, Olga Dubron-Ravova. So Russian volume fans are handcrafted by your lash stylist before being immediately applied to your natural lashes. Your stylist can create fans in a variety of lengths and curls from 2D up to 6D typically. All right. So the way we measure the depth of a fan is in D. So 2D means 2 synthetic lashes in the fan. 3D means 3 synthetic lashes. 4D means 4 synthetic lashes, and so on. So the heavier the D of your fan, the fuller your lash set will look. So a 2D set would be the lightest, and the 6D would be the heaviest. Okay, and then classic versus volume. So classic lashes, as we know, is one extension to one natural lash, where volume is fanning 2 or more extensions and placing on one natural lash. It is a safe service as long as we make sure that we are looking at the health of the natural lash and then deciding what the best weight would be to use on those lashes. And because we are doing thinner diameters, those lashes are lighter. So they do help create fullness, and it does allow your lash artist to charge more for services. So usually when you are Russian volume trained, it'll take you anywhere from 3 to 5 hours. You can charge up to $400 or more, but the more education and the more training you get, the more certifications you get from actual people worth their weight in gold, the more you can charge. So as you develop your skill, you're able to increase your prices. Okay, so charge what you are worth. All right. So there are the images of classic, volume, and hybrid, the 1-to-1, the volume, and here are those diameters in this image. So you have 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6D. And then here's a more close-up look at it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are your diameters. All right. And here's an image of volume, an image of hybrid, and an image of classic. So you can see it gets more dense as you increase the lashes. Okay. So the diameter of lashes for volume range from 0.03 to 0.07. The larger the diameter or the thickness, the heavier the lash extension. So commonly used thicknesses and diameter and volume lashing are 0.05 to 0.07. So here's just an image of the weight. So this is the weight of them, and forgive me if I don't know what that decimal point with all the zeros, but it's the gram, like a millionth and a thousandth of a gram. Okay, so when you are trying to create a 0.21, you are using 3.07s, and that's the natural lash. So it should be able to hold that. And so you see what it looks like with a 0.20, but then you do 0.07, so 3 can equal the weight of the 1. All right. So now using the volume conversion formula and the assumption that the natural lash can safely support a 0.15 millimeter diameter extension, the number of extensions you can apply in a fan to avoid lash damage. So here's that grid, and I get this question asked all the time. So you can take a picture, screenshot. But how many lashes can I pick up with 0.03? Up to 25, but try to keep yourself at 15 and try to start training your eye to know how many lashes you're picking up. It is possible. You know, the place that I worked for, they were a little crazy. I had to count the lashes. When I applied them on my client, I had to sit there and count all the number of lashes that I placed on the client. I got so good at it that I didn't even have to use my tweezers to separate it. I could just go in and look and tell you how many were on each eye. So you can train your eye to see how many lashes you are lifting up. In fact, you should. Okay. 0.05, anywhere from 6 to 9, 0.06, 6 diameter, 0.07, 4, and 0.10, 2, or your 0.10 can be a classic if your client has very thin, sparse lashes. Okay, they're too thin for a 0.15, you can use a 0.10. Alrighty, and now here are the visuals. So your 0.10, this is 2 lashes. Your 0.12 is 3, 0.15. This is what it's, what's this diameter? 0.07. That's what I'm going to say. Okay, so that's 2, that's 3, and that's 4. That equates up to a 0.15. That equates to a 0.12, and that equates to a 0.10. Then if you go down to the smaller, obviously these are your 0.03s. So these are 9 where this is increased, and then this is probably the 25. Okay, here's your weight visuals. So if you need to see it broken down per lash, here's your mega volume, 0.03, 0.04, and there's also 0.02s now. Your volume, 0.05, 0.06, and 0.07. You can also use 0.10, or your 0.10 can also fall into classic, and then 0.12, 0.15. 0.18 is too heavy. Now, if they have really thick, coarse lashes, and if we're talking about ethnicities, we're probably looking at people with a Fitzpatrick of maybe about 4 or higher. So what does that mean in ethnic terms? Maybe like your African Americans, or maybe your Middle Eastern people, those types, that their hair is really thick and coarse. They can probably hold a 0.18, but your safe zone is always a 0.15. And then anything that higher than that is too heavy. You don't want to use it. Okay. Handmade versus pre-made. Handmade fans require great skill to master. Okay. So day one, when I hear students like, oh, it's not working, that's okay. You're still going to learn. All right. You're going to get it by the time you leave here. Better retention. And they wrap the natural lash, and it is a custom service where if we look at pre-made fans, they are created in a factory. They are bonded at the base with adhesive or heat. They are easy to apply, but they are more expensive for a lash artist, and they do save you time, but it's less retention because they don't wrap. They're cured flat, so they don't wrap around the natural lash. And that's why your handmade lasts longer, because every single lash that's in that fan will wrap around the natural lash and it'll hold on and it'll stick better. Okay. Where this is going to be more like what's that? Like a teeter-totter. What is it? Where it goes like this. Eventually it's going to come off. All right. So the retention is less. It's not as great. So then your easy fanning lashes are sealed together on a lash tray. They are easy to fan, but often do not provide the same retention, and they will not wrap around the natural lash. All right. And so then you see this, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lashes, but you see what that base looks like? It looks round. That's because each single lash has wrapped around the natural lash and they're hanging on for dear life. Okay. And that's what you want. How do you achieve that? You give just a little shimmy or a little sliding motion up and down, and you'll see those lashes starting to move, and then they'll wrap. But what you don't want to do is let go of it right away. You need to count per lash. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then let it go, and it should stay on there as long as you have the right amount of adhesive. Okay. Now your volume techniques, and this is just showing how it wraps. So this is an image of a wrapped fan on a natural lash, and this is the image of a pre-made fan that is not wrapped on the natural lash. So you can see where the outsides are lifted, where here they're all making contact halfway around. Okay. So now volume adhesives are thinner in viscosity and have a faster drying time. They contain a higher concentration of cyanoacrylate. They should not be used for classic lashes. They do have better retention, and you use less adhesive. And then creating your fans, you can make them directly from the palette by shimmying, or when you lift it, you can tap them on your palette or on your tile. So that way, if you've got a base that's sticking out, you'll tap it so it'll fall into place. That's a little bit trickier method to use. Sometimes it'll work for me and sometimes it doesn't. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong that it doesn't work every time. But either way, it's something that I refrain from doing because I'm not great at it. Okay. And so then your extensions are picked up and they are tapped at the base. Oh, pinching. We should never use the pinching method because it's unsanitary and it causes crisscross bases. And you can actually see it. Like I had a student that had a client. She was like, look, Miss Monica, her bases are crossed. I said, yeah, because somebody pinched. They should not be pinching because what happens is they're on the lash line and you can see where they're like almost like swirled. And so if there's one that's sticking out when your client opens the eye, it's going to bother them or poke them and they're going to itchy scratch. Okay. Now you can create your fans and place them on the sponge, but you're also going to create your fans and place them on a mannequin. And those are part of your practicals. And I'll go over that here in a little bit. Let's jump into week 3. Oh no, we've got to jump into removal. This one's pretty quick. Okay, so lash removal. Here are the supplies that you'll need: your hand sanitizer, your remover, your shampoo, your water bottle, a fan, some disposables, saline solution or eye wash, microfiber wands, lash spoolie under eye pads, and your client head drape. Place the eye pad under the lower lashes and apply the remover to the glue bonds. Avoid contact with skin. You want to allow that remover to sit 3 to 5 minutes before working. And I know sometimes we get a little antsy and we want it to come off right away, but you have to let this remover work. If you haven't heard, it is a gel form of acetone. So you need to let it sit so that it can start to break through the bonds. Okay. And then after they sit, you're going to gently work the extensions off, and then you're going to cleanse again with lash shampoo and dry. But what you need to do is grab your two microfiber ones or your doe foot applicators, and you are going to glide as much of that remover off the lash line, moving away from the client's skin before you come in with that lash bath. Okay. Oh, I cannot. Can I? Here we go. Oh. Can I go back? Oh, wait, what is fit? There we go. Okay, so what you want to do is incline the client's head and avoid elevating their legs during the removal. We don't want them to get too comfortable because we're just going to do a removal. And then place the under eye pads under the lower lashes. And the under eye pad is here as a palette and protection for the under eye area. You want to pump out a small amount of gel remover onto a microfiber wand. What I like to do is if I have the backing to one of the under eye pads, I'll use that as my palette and just dispense the remover on that and place it right next to the client's head to where it doesn't fall or touch her. And I just scoop up the remover and then I'll place it on the adhesive bonds. Okay, then I'm going to wait 3 to 5 minutes. But I don't want, like, I know we were taught to use as little as possible, so we'll have more for longer. But in this case, no. Because we need this remover to eat through the bonds, we need to apply it occlusively or thick, a good thick amount on the bonds. We're not swiping all the way up. We are just sitting it on the bonds wherever that adhesive is, and we're not swiping, okay? You're going to let it sit. It's going to look like a big strip of goop, but that's what we want. Excuse me. Okay, so then after it's sat 3 to 5 minutes, you're going to peel away the extensions and discard. So yes, our client's going to have a head drape on her forehead, but we are not going to place the lashes on here that we've taken off. We're going to have a clean paper towel off to the side, and we're going to wipe off on that paper towel. Okay, and then because the paper towels are thinner, and if that remover seeps through, it could cause a chemical burn on her skin. So we are doing it off to the side and not on her forehead. Okay. So then you're going to wipe away the excess gel on that paper towel that's off to the side. Then you're going to go through and rinse with distilled water. And then you're going to use a lash bath. Flush the eye to ensure that all gel remover has been cleared from the eye area. Okay, so here's the cleanse. You're going to cleanse it with lash shampoo. You're going to rinse with distilled water. You'll blot the lashes and fan dry with the spoolie. Now, if there's still product or if you've shot cured, then you got to go back over with remover again and repeat the process. Okay. And then there's just some tips for you. Just making sure that you cleanse before to help remove any debris and oil. That'll help speed up the process, and also place the under eye pad below the lashes to avoid breaking the mucosal line. And then be gentle and reapply remover as needed. Avoid contact with skin and keep eye wash near in case of emergency. Okay, any questions there? All right, moving on. Let's get this show on the road, ladies. I think we're making good time. All right, let me get out of this one. Close that one up. Go to week 3. View material, and here is lash mapping and hybrid. So those of you at home, there is an actual lash map guide that you can either screenshot or print off if you have the printer. This will help you with your natural, dramatic cat eye, kitten, and doll eye. And these are just guidelines. You can always tweak, change, or add however you need. So meaning, like, if she's starting off with a cat eye, but you notice that her lashes on the outer corner are too short, or if she says, man, those lashes always fall off first, say, okay, you know what? We can transition you to a kitten eye. Why? because you're going to use shorter lashes on the outer corner versus going all the way out full length. Okay. All right. So now lash mapping. Why do we map? Because it's gives you a clear guideline and it keeps your work organized, because once you start lashing and you're like, oh, I'm going to remember what I'm doing, then you're like, wait, who am I working on? What kind is this? What am I doing? That's happened to me. So I started mapping everybody. Okay, so it helps. It's also customized work, and it does increase your accuracy, and it enables you guys as lash artists to easily recreate a lash design. But the other thing that I really like about it, especially because I'm the one checking your work after you're done, is I can see where the mapping is on the under eye pad, and then it's come to life on the lash line. So that tells me that you're on track with what you're doing. Okay, well, for the students on campus, mainly. All right, so now, oh, I've got to open the document. Hang on. Considerations for mapping. I'm kind of stuffy. It's getting hot in here. Okay, so considerations for mapping. Obviously, the eye shape. What shape does she have, and what am I going to do for her? What lengths am I going to use? What curls am I going to use? And then also the technique and the desired look that the client wants. So I'm going to map it based off of that. Then I'm going to remember my eye shapes and what I'm going to do. So all of these, you have your deep set, your monolid, your hooded, almond, downturn, close set, and wide set. So jumping into the deep set eye. Okay, so they're simply an eye shape. They look larger and set deeper into the socket, which creates the illusion of a more prominent brow bone, which we've already talked about. The monolid, remember, you can do longer lengths in the middle just to kind of elongate the eye and create more of an emphasis in the center versus drawing attention to the monolid. So basically, you're just trying to cover it so it's not so obvious if that's what they want. Then we have a hooded lid. So what it looks like is it's just heavier. Usually you want to aim under the brow bone to make the point of emphasis if they're looking for a cat eye or something a little more dramatic. And then with them, a lot of times your client will be like, I don't want all that heavy skin to show. So you can do your lengths a little bit longer according to the map style that you want to use. Okay. And then with your almond, so almond shape is usually considered the ideal eye shape, and you can do any style on this eye shape and it'll work. It'll look great. So if you want to do a cat eye, a doll eye, if you want to go natural, you want to do kitten, whatever it is, it will always translate well on an almond shape. Okay. Downturned eyes, and that's basically saying that the outer corners are lower. Okay, so you can, what are we saying? Nothing. Downturn. You could do kitten eye just because it's downturn. Because a lot of times if you're doing like a volume cat eye, you usually have more weight and it looks heavier on the outside. So if you were to do shorter until you get to about 3/4 of the way up and then making them long here and then going down, I think that would flatter the eye, but that depends on what you're seeing again on your client. Okay. And then your close set, just remembering to do your longer lengths on the outer corner so that it gives the appearance that the eye is wider apart. And then with your wide set, just remembering you don't want them too long in the front to draw attention, because then it'll make them look like they're further apart because there's like more space. So maybe going just a little bit longer and then working outward. So our length considerations usually going up to 4 millimeter, but we're all trained differently. I was taught 2 millimeter just because I'm considering the length of the natural lash. But either way, depending on what you're seeing, you're always going to gauge by the natural lash and the length that they have and what they can actually hold. Okay. And the inner corners, I was taught to never go over 7s or 8s, but now that I'm like, when I started lashing, I was like, some of these people have 10s and 11s on the inner corner. So I could still go in and use the same length, just a thicker lash versus going in and doing a full on 13 here. unless that's what they wanted. And then it's like, okay, so what's our longest lash gonna be? You know what I mean? So just having those conversations and just being, aware of what's gonna happen, because sometimes if you do a tighter curl on the inner corner and she opens her eyes, it's gonna fit. She's gonna fidget because it's gonna tickle her. She's gonna feel it. It's gonna feel heavy, that type of thing. Okay. And then we've already talked about the curl. These were the most common curls that have been used, but now we've got more curls like the M's and the L minus, the L plus, CCDD, BB, all these curls. So just knowing what the curls are and how it'll flatter your client. Okay. And then all your techniques can be used in mapping. So your classic, volume, and hybrid. Now the density, that's all that it's going to affect is the density. Okay. And then thus the desired look. So having that consultation with your client, talking about what you've seen, what they like, and what you can actually create. Okay. So then this is just going to break down what that mapping is. So natural, you really want to start your emphasis under the brow and maybe that medium length straight up the middle. Okay. And it's suitable for everybody. So you really want to look at their natural lashes. Now, what you don't want to do is if her lash line is going like nice and smooth and then it goes down and then it comes up, you're not going to copy that with your extensions. You're actually going to bridge that gap so that it all flows evenly. Okay. And then the doll eye, the emphasis is straight up the center. So you've got to measure the outside and the inner of the center. But if her eyes are closed, where do we know where the center is? I don't know. We don't. So what you could do is have her stand in front of you and tell her to look through your soul, because the closer you get, her eyes will tend to move, or she wants to look away from you. So she's got to look dead on. You can grab either an eyebrow pencil or a pen that you know the ink will come off, that you can rub off, and you'll just come through and measure with that pen with her looking straight on, and you can make a mark on the brow, on the inside and the outside. Then after you've washed her and dried her and you put the under eye pad, when she closes her eyes, you're just going to grab your pen and mark that on your under eye pad. That way you'll know where the center is, and that's where you're going to start your longest length. Okay. And then you're going to work down with that doll eye on both sides. And this is really good for people with wide set eyes. It creates a balance. When to use the cat eye. So people with larger eye space, almond eyes, and generally you're going to start in the center at least halfway or mid-length down the center of the eye, and then you're going to work toward your longer lengths to the outer corner. And usually you're going to start with a length like a 7 or an 8. If you're going up to a 14, divide that 14 by a 2. Your starting lash should be about a 7 or an 8 as far as the length, the millimeter. Okay. Large eyes, classic, hybrid, volume, however you want to create that. All right. And then your emphasis and your considerations. So if you're kind of like, well, where's her brow? Like, where's her arch? Because some people have straight brows. So you're like, well, where do I want to start this arch at, or the longest length at? You grab a pen or a pencil or something that you can mark on that's going to come off. You're going to place that on the outside of the nose, and it's going to come across, and you're going to mark. So that tip of the pin should generally be marking where that arch is. And that's how you can measure that. Okay. So the options for lash mapping are endless. Just make sure you assess the guest's features and customize your sets to enhance their features. Don't fall into a cookie cutter pattern, because some students will be like, oh, I'm just going to do cat eye on everybody. Well, that defeats the purpose of creating a custom set. Okay. Because customization, couldn't even say it, sets you apart from other lash artists, and it builds your reputation as a professional, because you know how to map and you know how to customize for every person and commit to mapping every guest every time. And I didn't share that one, did I? I sure did not. I'm sorry. Do I need to go back and share it? Let me go back. Okay. So we started with lash mapping. Why do we map? Considerations, eye shapes. We went through the eye shapes. Hooded, almond, downturned, closed set, wide set, length considerations, curl selections, technique, desired look, and then all the different shapes. Okay, so now let's see if I can get the camera to zoom in today. I don't know what happened with it yesterday, but I'll try to zoom in. Wait, let me make sure that's the only thing I got to talk about today. Oh, hybrid. You know, I was already trying to. Okay, so hybrid is a combination of classic and volume. You're going to do a 50-50 ratio. It gives you a fuller look versus what a classic look is. You're still going to prep the same way with a lash bath and primer. You will do the under eye pad and the taping, and then you'll map your set. Okay, so classic lashes are applied first. You're going to do 3 to 4 passes of the classic lashes on each eye, working section to section until both eyes, you've gone across both eyes from corner to corner. Then you're going to start over again and do it again, and that's a second pass. Start again, do it again. That's a third pass. If it looks like that's good enough, then you can jump in and start doing your volume fans using 0.07 lashes at 4-dimension fans, and you're going to go in and place those in. Okay, so ensure that your set is thoroughly cured by fanning for 2 to 5 minutes on each eye, and the end result is a natural set with more fullness than a traditional classic set. And the hybrid application may be used with any mapping style desired. For classic, you don't want to go longer than 4 millimeters. And then your guidelines, you can use 0.07 with 4D or 0.05 with no larger than 6D. And then if you're doing 0.03, those are for mega volume. Okay, you're going to go through your aftercare. Aftercare is do not wet them for 24 hours, 48, just depending on your adhesive. Stay out of steam. Don't sweat. Don't rub your eyes. No oil-based products, whether it's your cleanser, your moisturizer, or even your makeup remover wipes. Okay. And you want to do shampoo with lash bath and lash shampoo. I'm sorry, with lash shampoo and brush, doing it the way we trained our clients, and then drying them with cool air upward. And that's why we send them home with the spoolie so they can do their own little lash blowout to get their lashes back in place and in line. Okay, then you're closing, just making sure that if you have a referral program, you talk about the referral program, making sure that you give them their home care instructions. Also, that you rebook them, and then that you say goodbye to them and ask for feedback. I always say, if you have any issues, it's kind of a guarantee. Have any issues, give me a call. And if there's anything that I can do for you, we can set aside a time for you to come back, so that way we can address your issues and evaluate your lashes and see what's going on, and we can go from there. Okay. And if there's anything else, that's it. And of course, upselling. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to go through and set up my palette. Oh, I forgot to share that screen too. What is wrong with me today? I'm lacking. I'm just lacking. Okay, let me set up real quick. If you want to take a little break, a bathroom break, a water break, a snack break, grab my supplies so I can show y'all how to build fans. And there's more than one way. It's hot. Turn that little fan on.
Yeah.
It's little, but it helps. It cools it off. Okay. She's hiding. She said, "No, because she got some bad people." Where are my glasses? There they are. Oh, lashes. I need some lashes. 0.27. Yes. Wait. Three. And I need a palette. All right. Let's see. Make this camera. Yay! It's gonna work. All right. So I know I said yesterday I would show you lash cart setup. So what you'll do is set out your bib. You want to make sure you have a water bottle, hand sanitizer always, because anytime you touch away from the client, you touch something else. You should always be applying hand sanitizer before you start the service. I actually had a client tell me, "Did you wash your hands?" And then she heard me putting sanitizer. She was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "Man, this is what I do for a day."
I'm gonna get closer actually, but
Yeah,
go ahead the camera.
You can sit. All right, so I do not like working from a glue ring. I just feel like with the bases of the lashes being black and the adhesive being black and having to dip into a glue ring, I cannot see. Okay, so that's a little footnote there. So then back to the tray setup, you want to have your hand sanitizer out, your water bottle out, you're gonna have your adhesive, your primer, you are going to have your tape out, a dapping dish with your acetone out, you should have your mirror out, so you can do your spot checks. Spot checks should happen at the point that you're like, oh, it's time to switch out my adhesive. Okay, so you have that out in your arsenal. And also always having extra tweezers, and you can have a different size of tape in there as well. And then your extra tweezers, which I have like 2 pairs. I have more than 2 pairs, but I do have my favorites. Okay, and they are sanitized and cleaned prior to using. Then making sure that you have your disposables, enough disposables, so your micro wands, doe foot applicators, and then you would have paper towels at your disposal as well as your under eye pads. And then a Sharpie. Sharpie is best for mapping. That is like really the only ink that will mark on your under eye pads. And then you can also have a little pair of scissors if you like being accurate in cutting your tape. You will never cut or do anything over your client's head. It will always be over in your cart. Okay? All right. And then, of course, you want to have a spoolie also on your lash setup or your cart setup. Okay? Now, any extras will go on one of the other 2 layers of the cart. All right? Now, I'm really not going to use all of this today. This is just for the purpose of showing the setup. Then we would go through and do the lash bath, which I don't have my shampoo, but you would have it on here. You're gonna spray it on her. You're gonna grab your brush, then tilt her head, rinse, and you're gonna have a paper towel here. You're gonna rinse and then lift the lid and rinse, and then do it again on the other side. Okay, so now, so that we can actually see the fanning, I'm gonna move all of this stuff out of the way. And I can under iPad her. And I can taper. So I don't know if any of you struggle with removing the backing of the under iPad. I'll show you a little trick that I have. So you know how you snap your finger? You can also do that motion and it slides them apart. Okay? The thin part of your under iPad, I like to put it on the inner corner so that way it doesn't ride up or bulk up or take up too much space along the nose. But you set it right under the inner corner of the eye, the rest should go past the outside. Usually following the contour of the cheek toward the outside of the ear. And this is a makeshift trash can. That would not be on my cart. No trash on the cart or on the bed around your client. Okay, and I like to butt these up all the way up to the lash strips when I'm working on a mannequin. So that way I can see the lashes better and my eyes don't play tricks on me with that nude colored or flesh colored skin. Okay, so now she's ready to go. Grab a Sharpie. And I'll zoom in 2 shakes. 2 shakes of a what? 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. And these are big permanent markers. All of my Sharpie markers have this. All right, so what I want to do is make these 2 lines the longest, just to indicate to me that this is the area that I'm going to lash in. All right, so if I want to make this my longest lash, and then one of the shorter lashes, and then transitioning to the smaller. So if my longest lash is going to be a 13, I'm going to write a 13, and then 12, 11, 10. Now I got to mirror that on this side. So your lines are always going to go on the outside and your numbers are going to go on the inside. Okay, so 13, 12, 11, 10. Now, say I want to create a base or a foundation for density along this part so that when she opens her eyes, it doesn't look so spacey or gappy. I can come in and fill with 8s. So I can draw a line to say my foundation is going to be an 8 all the way across. If I want to mix lengths, or if I see layers, I need to break this down as my layers. And I've got to decide if this represents the very top layer because I want the longer lashes showing and then the shorter lashes to scale down. Then I could flip this and put the 13 closer, then say 11, and then say 10 or 8. Okay, however it works for me to understand what I'm doing. I can also change the layers by color so that way I know what I'm working on. Or if you're putting colored lashes, you can say, okay, so this is my red row, that's the lengths I'm using. This is my green row, those are the lengths I'm using. This is my white row, these are the lengths I'm using. Okay, so however it transitions for you, however you can understand it. All right, so now I'm going to zoom in because I actually want to use this as an example. So right about here. Okay. This camera be playing tricks on me. Okay, so I don't know if you can actually see. Let me flip it around. Okay, perfect. So you see how these lashes right here, you see how they're angling this way? I'm not going to use that on my client because if I place them on her, all her lashes are going to be in that direction. No matter where I place them, they're going to point in that direction. Then you see these lashes where some of them go one direction and one go the other direction. I'm not going to use those either. Okay. So those are a wash. I'm gonna take those off. And this one's already nifty. So these are trash. So that's why it's important to keep your pallets in a container where they're not gonna get smushed, especially if you're using like the box kit that you get on campus or that you receive in the mail and it's gonna be transported with you in your car. You gotta make sure that these are kept in some type of a container so that that doesn't happen, but it also keeps your lashes clean and sanitary. If they're out in the open, you need to be spraying them with alcohol, and then you're gonna get your spoolie, you're gonna brush